it's 2026. AI seems to literally know everything. So if you're selling a form of coaching, info, mentorship, any of that kind of stuff, this is kind of how I think that you're going to be able to continue competing in an era where information is no longer the actual valuable, attainable thing. Before I continue, however, I do want to preface that, of course, if you are doing stuff that not many people have discussed and it's something new, then you obviously have an edge over AI because by definition it's slightly delayed in terms of its ability to learn things and then repeat them back to you in the form of like ChatGPT and that kind of stuff. But I'm going to go ahead and assume that 99.9% of people out there are not actually doing those things. And so a common question that I get quite a bit when I'm talking to people just about like coaching, mentorship, and all that kind of stuff in general is, why would somebody buy from me if they can just get the answer from ChatGPT or whatever AI model the person wants to use? And that's a really good question because, like I said before, the idea that the actual information being provided is new or any different than AI is outdated. The new meta and the way that things are going to be moving forward is about how you package the information, the messaging, and then also just becoming likable and relatable and being able to understand your ideal customer's situation and how you can actually help them get out of it. And this isn't me saying that AI is bad or good. Of course, it's not all good and it's not all bad, but this is just the current situation that we're in. And so we're going to have to adapt and evolve to how things are changing in our day-to-day lives. And it's changing quite quick. So the three main shifts that I see happening in 2026 and beyond with AI and its relation to selling coaching or information or mentorships and that kind of stuff is information alone shouldn't be the main selling point. Information alone isn't the main thing that people are going to get bought into, because people don't really hesitate when you give them all the information. They are just hesitant because they don't know if it'll work for them or if they want to work for you, and they're probably not bought into you, honestly. So the first shift I see happening, and this has already kind of happened, and it's always been a part of how selling info works, but the actual information in itself is losing value very quickly. Because if you were to think about people who were selling courses back in 2016, like, you could probably argue that you could go out there on YouTube and find all the information you needed online on free YouTube videos and then just go ahead and do whatever you wanted to do on your own. But the main reason why you'd pay for information or courses or mentorships back then was to have the information organized for you, packaged, and then also so you don't have to like spend your time like running around trying to find it. And then also, of course, for the guidance, which is like a separate thing. But now that you can literally just text an AI model that will give you an answer, whether it's good or not, it's completely devalued the way that we view information. It's something that people just take for granted now. And I've noticed this with myself, where I'll literally ask AI like the most basic questions, where even 15-year-old me would be like, bro, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you asking this question to ChatGPT? So the way that I kind of see this playing out is that actual value or informational videos are not going to hold as much weight as they once did. It's going to be about how you can make that feel real and relatable to the actual situation that you were once in, and how you got out of it, or how somebody you helped is currently in and how you help somebody else get out of that situation, if that makes sense. So just providing like basic tips and generic advice is completely off the table. Let me give you an example. Let's just say that there's a anonymous personal trainer, or like whatever, you don't really know who he is. It's just a random guy, and he was trained directly by someone like The Rock. The Rock has given him his entire workout program, everything to the T. Basically, The Rock's program just delivered through another person. And then you have person B, which is The Rock in this example. Most people would probably choose to work with The Rock. And okay, whatever, this is separate to my opinion on him. What I'm trying to say is that ultimately, at the end of the day, the information is the same. You're going to go through the same program, but you're going to want to work with one person over the other. In this case, The Rock, because you've watched his movies, you think he's funny, you think he's relatable, whatever it may be. And you can swap this with any celebrity or any like famous person that you have an affinity to, somebody that you relate with and somebody that you like. So even though the information and the training program is literally equivalent, one person wins over the other because of relatability and, of course, reach and that kind of stuff. But this controlled experiment, let's say, that I was just giving you, is kind of just saying, if you put these two people in a one-to-one conversation with somebody else, I think The Rock is going to win 9 times out of 10. This is basically synonymous with the saying that people buy coaches and not coaching, Because at the end of the day, somebody wants to buy into somebody who makes them feel understood and makes them feel like they can actually help them achieve that goal and not just provide them generic advice. In fact, one of the things that I've said before in my previous videos is if you were to look at somebody and all of their clients, they tend to be very similar to themselves. As in, there's a lot of coaches and people who work in info on Instagram right now where if you were to look at their client retreats or their actual clients, like their sales calls that they post and that kind of stuff, or their testimonials rather, a lot of their clients look exactly like them and kind of like carry themselves in that way. And the reason why that specific coach got the sale over the other guy who probably has a very similar strategy and who probably is giving the same information that AI can also maybe deliver is just because that one person decided to buy somebody else's program because they connect with them more. So what I think is really going to change is people are going to be using social media for what it was originally intended for, which is to build actual connections. Like leading with connection first is going to be the most important thing. And that's the second shift, as I think there's going to be a huge priority in actually trying to build connections with people because, like I said before, and I'll say it again, information alone has been commoditized. People want to feel connected, and in social media these days, a lot of it has just become this like pool of people trying to sell everybody, and everything kind of feels a little bit transactional. So I think the people who are going to win most are the people who are trying to connect on a personal level, on a business level, kind of trying to show a little bit more of their authentic side and not just showing that everything is always winning all the time. Because honestly, people are getting tired of that. And if I really wanted to know the 3 best tips on how to make a hook, I would probably just ask ChatGPT. But if I were to watch somebody else's video where they kind of explain a story about how they were stuck and some things that they did where they reframed their mind and some frameworks that they use now that helps them create hooks, that is a lot more appealing because it comes from a place of wisdom, a place of somebody who's actually done the thing that they're talking about, and it makes them feel a lot more relatable. So fundamentally, your goal is basically to do the things that AI cannot do. And hopefully AI will never be able to do this because I think that that would probably be a really bad tipping point in society. But it's be a human and build an actual connection and an actual relationship. Because if you were to strip everything back between all the material possessions and the material wins, at the end of the day, the most important thing in any human life, at least in my opinion, is the experience that you have. And when I say the experience that you have, I mean like the connections that you have, the relationships that you have, the life that you've lived, and the impact that you have on people and the way that you make them feel in the way that you affect their lives. And the third shift I see happening, which maybe isn't going to happen in 2026 or in 2027, but at some point in the future, and it's already kind of happening now, is people are going to become overly reliant on AI and they're not going to be able to complete basic tasks on their own. And what happens when you basically have everybody using the same LLM, the same model, the same software to basically come up with their ideas and come up with their scripts, the way they message people and all that kind of stuff, is it's going to cause everything to just feel the same, and there's going to be no unique aspect to anything that is happening in people's day-to-day lives when it comes to using stuff online. Of course, your actual personal interactions and all that kind of stuff will hopefully still feel authentic, but in this case, I think that this over-reliance on AI, and I've dealt with this too, like it's very easy to kind of just offload a lot of the work that you want done by AI because it's just a lot faster. And not to mention, a lot of people don't actually check where their AI models are getting this information from, any information. Like once we stop questioning things in general and just treating AI as a single source of truth, that also becomes a huge problem, which is why living life and having experience and then sharing that wisdom and building the connection with people is going to be so much better than just using AI, because we don't even know really where that information is coming from. Like, sure, you could probably find out like where it's currently pulling its information, but what happens if there's a bias on that side? And it's kind of baked into the way that AI is built. I'm not going to get into the technical aspect because I don't feel qualified to speak about it at all. But from what I understand, the way AI actually hallucinates and continues to go down these rabbit holes and continues to mess up or like have confirmation bias is literally built into how it works currently, at least. And so when people just become overly reliant on it, it's going to become a problem in more than just the coaching and info space. But in this case, what I'm trying to say is that this over-reliance is going to cause some issues because people are just going to be listening to the first thing that their LLM spits out to them, and they're just going to take that as gospel and they're just going to run with it, which eventually is another form of control. It's a form of you not being able to express your own original thoughts and your own original experience. I know I kind of just went on a tangent. I don't even know if I'm going to post this, to be honest, but hopefully that kind of made sense. The idea is just to not become overly reliant on AI, and then also just be a real fucking person online and talk about your own experiences and the things that you see and the things that you're doing, and don't just outsource everything there. Because I think that honestly, this is a complete side note. I'm helping a friend do some outreach on LinkedIn and that kind of stuff. And what I noticed immediately was, after having sent a bunch of messages, there was a typo in one of the first outbound messages. And I was discussing it with him, and we were almost saying that maybe one of the reasons why this gets such a high reply rate is because there is a typo in there. It makes it look that we spent that time to actually type that message out. And of course, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It's not like it was an AI generated message from scratch. We wrote it once and it's just a template, and then sometimes we change some things here and there. But the point is that lack of perfection is kind of what maybe is helping it get replies. Okay, that might be a bit of a stretch, but I think that people are going to be appreciating that we are actually humans at the end of the day, and that this over perfectionism that AI is kind of bringing to the table is also going to be something that people are going to be pushing away. And we're already seeing that kind of in the way that AI generated content is being a little rejected a little bit. But yeah, so yeah, this was kind of just a rant. Honestly, I don't even really know if I'm going to post this. I did have some notes up, but I didn't really feel good when I was referring to them while I was speaking out loud. I did have some stuff that I wanted to read out, but yeah, that just wasn't coming out for some reason. Just one of those days, I guess. So I don't even know if I'm going to post this, if I'm going to be honest. But if you found this video relatable, insightful, I don't know, just drop a like, drop a comment, tell me what you thought. Otherwise, yeah, no pressure at all. And I'll see you guys on the next one.